There was a time long, long ago when the sun drew very near to the earth. Soon plants began to wither and die. Streams began to dry up. All the creatures on our Mother Earth began to fear death from hunger and thirst. So the animals held council to decide how to put the sun back in the sky where it belonged. A volunteer was sought to accomplish this task. The possum was the first animal to volunteer to move the sun back into the sky. Now, at this time in history, the possum had a bushy tail like a fox or a squirrel, except his tail was very strong. So Possum wrapped his long bushy tail around the sun and began to pull the sun back into the sky where it belonged. But the sun burnt all the fur off of Possum's tail, so he released the sun and didn't succeed in his task. And to this day, Possum has a long, hairless tail. Then Fox jumped up to volunteer next. He put the sun into his mouth and began to carry it back into the sky where it belonged. But the sun was hot and it burnt Fox's mouth, and it turned his lips black so that he dropped the sun, and it scorched the hair on his legs and feet, leaving them black yet to this day. The animals didn't know what to do. Twice they had failed to put the sun back into the sky where it belonged. And so it was that they once more began to seek a volunteer to accomplish the task. Now there was at this time a beautiful bird who was widely respected, for he could soar high above all other birds. In fact, he even carried messages to the Creator. His beauty and nobility were known throughout all creation, and no other animal compared to his beauty. He was the next to volunteer to try to accomplish this task. And so it was that he flew up and placed his head against the sun and began to flap his wings to push the sun back into the sky where it belonged. As he pushed, the sun burned all the feathers off of his head and charred the rest of his beautiful feathers. Yet the bird pushed onward, soaring higher and higher into the sky until the sun was returned to where it belonged. When the noble bird returned to earth, the other animals drew away in horror. Now its beautiful head was featherless and red from being burnt by the sun. Now its beautiful feathers were charred black and ugly. The other animals could not look on to their savior, for he was now frightful to behold. So it is that now the turkey buzzard is a solitary creature. You'll not see the turkey buzzard with any other living animals, for they cannot look on him. But if you're fortunate enough to be gifted a feather from this noble bird, you will see on the underside, where the sun did not scorch it, the beautiful plumage that once covered his whole body. And this is why the Lenape regard this bird highly, for he gave greatly of himself to save all creation,